Got a feeling it burns in my chest. It's growing larger with every breath I take. When I fight it,
Hello and welcome into the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena. We have a really, really good show on your guys' hands tonight. It's going to be something that happens in the background, but for this time it's going to happen for real and it's going to count because it is going to be Boise State taking on Boise State in NACE Overwatch. Now, you might be confused, but thanks to the NACE rules, if you heard Doc Haskell in our last post-game interview, they say that if you want to enter two teams, they've got to be in the exact same group. That means at some point they've got to play, so that's how we're going to kick things off in the NACE season is going to be Boise State Blue taking on Boise State Orange in Overwatch. And like I said, I'm sure they scrim all the time, but this one matters. This is where they're going to be an official record. So it's going to be a great one. It's going to be something you probably haven't seen. Boise State taking on Boise State in a game that actually matters, the wins and losses. So Boise State's guaranteed to win, Boise guaranteed to lose. As we see right there, Blue versus Orange. And also, we're going to have a very special guest joining us tonight, Jared Bertel Castiglione, making his first appearance on the stream this semester to call all of the fantastic Blue on Orange Overwatch action. Bertel, you could have picked a better time to join. I mean, it is an in-house scrim that actually matters.
Yeah, and I mean, when it comes down to it, most of these teams, they do a lot of research as much as they can to try and have an upper edge on their opponent. What better way to try and say, hey, we know our strats better than our own selves than to compete against your own team? That's crazy.
Yeah, and it's just wild. I mean, you understand how NACE does it. Hey, if you want to put two teams in, you got to put them in together. So I'm really curious to see. I mean, maybe, one guy plays really well and they say, hey, let's move this guy from orange to blue or something like that because, I mean, it really is going to be interesting to me to see how these match up because there's scrims that happen in the background, but you rarely ever see this. I mean, take football, for example. Yes, they practice against each other. You rarely ever see a game that matters where they're playing against each other. So I'm extremely excited. This is the NACE Overwatch series, Blue versus Orange. That's right, Boise State taking on Boise State. You know the names. They're very familiar. And now you've got to pick one to root for. So, Bertel, I'm going to make you be the villain here. Are you going with blue or orange tonight?
Man, if I had to pick, I would just, hedge my bets and say that Boise State was going to win, but you're calling me out, so I have to pick. I will go ahead and go with the blue team because in my lighting array right now, the corner light that I got going on is primarily blue. I do have the flashing blue and orange, of course, to support the teams, but I got with the blue corner in my corner over here.
Yeah, you know what? I'll take orange then, just to see how it is going to go. It is, like I said, it's going to be really interesting. These two teams taking on each other. Fish and Baratel on the cast, and I'm very excited. It's going to be really interesting because, as you mentioned, I mean, yeah, there's tendencies, and usually in Overwatch, okay, it takes a game or two, and they'll say, okay, this is what the team's tendencies want to do. These guys know each other in and out, so, I mean, you can't probably just run your standard comp because they're going to know all of your weaknesses, all of your strengths. This might be something where we go off meta just to try and surprise the other team that usually plays with you and sometimes against you.
Yeah, the real tricky stuff is going to end up happening pretty shortly, so get pumped. I'm already there. You're already there. Everyone here in the stream should start getting pumped right now as well.
Yeah, get excited. Get on your blue or your orange because you can't just say Stabobo today. You've got to pick a side. I'm not going to let anyone say, oh, Boise State's going to win. No, you've got to have a side. It's blue team versus orange team, both representing Boise State in the NACE Skill Shot Overwatch competition. As we've gone away from the preseason, we're now in the group phase where both teams were required to be together. So it's not like Boise State was like, hey, let's just stack one group. No, this was NACE rules. They said, hey, you're going to put two teams in, got to be in the same group. So I'm excited. You can see Baratel's light there in the background. Flashing blue, flashing orange. He's got the blue shirt on. He's going blue. I'm going orange.
I'm going full blue.
Hey, you know what? The best thing I like about this, I know all 12 players. Usually, sometimes we get in, I'm like, okay, what's that guy's name? But no, I know every single player that's going to be on both sides tonight. They're players I'm very familiar with. And you know what? The player to watch for me, it's got to be Goblin. He's been really, really good on Torbjorn. His Widowmaker has been okay at times. I think sometimes it feels like he's going back to a comfort. So how can Orange sort of match against that? I think that'll be very, very interesting. But before we get into that, we are going to take a quick break to get everything set up, and then we'll have Boise State versus Boise